Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books, and I've been covering Disney pretty closely these last few months. And one of the questions I have been getting is, hey, some of the guys on YouTube are saying FTX and Disney must be connected somehow because of some unusual timing issues, because of something Kevin O'Leary, he said the word that sounded like Iger on CNBC. But look, I haven't really seen any direct connections, but I haven't really seen any good information on it, so there was really no reason to do a video about it. For all of you guys, as you've asked me in comments, like, hey, what's my take on the FTX situation with Disney and whatnot, I have given you comments and responded when you asked and just basically straight up told you what I thought, which was, I don't see any sense that there's any connection between the two. Even circumstantial evidence for it, such as Disney throwing out their CEO around the time that FTX was found out to be a fraud, I really didn't see that connection. But there is some news on FTX and Disney in the extent that there has been a major filing with the bankruptcy court of the creditors of FTX. So these are the companies that are owed money to from FTX. And if you can believe it, one of the most amazing things about it is almost every media company you could possibly think of, Comcast, Fox, CAA, Netflix, even Warner Brothers Discovery, one of my favorite companies, is owed money by FTX for something. We'll talk about what in a minute. It's not for customer accounts. It's for doing business with the company. But Disney, in all their vast operations, have no business with FTX from the standpoint of being a corporate vendor, a corporate supplier to FTX. Now, this is not about the customer accounts just yet. They're not releasing the details on the customer accounts. It's not impossible that Disney is a customer the way that if I invested money in their crypto exchange, which I did not, or deposited money with them because, they were operating it like a bank, essentially, the FTX exchange. So it's very easy for someone to deposit money there or keep their crypto there, and then with this bankruptcy of FTX, lose that money. I still really don't see any connection between Disney and FTX that it's possible that that could have happened. That's not what this filing is about. This filing is about companies that did business with and were owed money from because they gave credit to FTX. And the filing is interesting. It does cover a lot of companies, but again, not one of the companies related to Disney in any which way, which is unusual if there is some sneaky business with FTX. So let's get into this article from The Hollywood Reporter. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Okay, FTX bankruptcy. Comcast, Fox, CAA, Netflix listed as creditors to crypto firm. And when a list like this of creditors is put together, and my goodness, it is a big list. I downloaded this. It's 116 pages. It's really tiny writing. And if you download it, you can't do this with the online version. This is the online version. I'm going to give you guys a link to this. And all you have to do is go right here, click download, and it'll give you an opportunity. I saved another copy on my hard drive. It'll let you download it for free. And what you could do when you have it downloaded is you could do this, Control F, and type Comcast if you want. And you'll see Comcast is one of their creditors. You can type Netflix, and you'll see Netflix is one of their creditors that they owe money to. Many, many, many companies. You'll also, there's NerdWallet right there. You'll also see name on file, address on file, and that looks like names that are not being released. Now, again, this does not include customer accounts. So if you're a corporate customer where you've deposited, $50 million or $100,000 or $10 on the FTX exchange, that's not going to be listed as a creditor. Not on this list. At the bottom of this list, you see 9.6 million customer names are redacted and are on file with the clerk. That is the clerk of court. Those customer names are being held up, not at Disney's request, but are being held up at the request of FTX because their top 50 creditors, companies, governments, and individuals that FTX felt, not Sam Bankman-Fried, the new management of FTX, the guy who's running it, the Enron former president, has requested through his attorney to keep that secret, at least for now. There's all sorts of accusations that potentially FTX was handling money from Ukraine, was handling money in a money laundering fashion also illegally. Now that's alleged. I haven't seen any criminal allegations about that with FTX. It is very possible that that happened. So there are tremendous political things related to FTX handling money. So its top 50 creditors are owed $3 billion. That includes all top 50 creditors. So if you cut that up in pieces, it would be $60 million each. The biggest one might be a couple hundred million. The smallest one's probably a couple of million. Are any of them Disney? At this moment, we still don't know. There's no reason it would be Disney. Disney would have to be literally, the CFO would have to be stealing money to do something like this. If Disney did have investments with FTX or any other major companies did, they're public companies, by now they should have put out public notices that, hey, we have some exposure to this FTX thing, as other companies have done that were doing things with FTX months ago when this first came out. Okay, so let's get into this article. The deals likely represent advertising and sponsorship deals that the media companies may not be paid back for, as well as services or subscriptions. And by the way, to be on this list, services and subscriptions, you see Netflix is on here. Does this mean that they owe Netflix $1 billion? No, not at all. They might owe Netflix like $15,000 and be on this list. This is for big companies and for small companies. It's the total list of companies that, as of when they file bankruptcy, FTX's new management announced and filed and said, these are the guys that we owe money to. And it's absolutely crucial that that list is accurate and that the amounts are accurate. If they make a mistake, they make a mistake. But the accuracy of the list is important because the bankruptcy judge needs to make decisions about like who is and who's not going to get paid. Because as of the nature of bankruptcy, generally speaking, there isn't enough money around, there aren't enough assets around, even if you were to sell everything, to pay everyone who is owed money. That's what bankruptcy's all about. The bankruptcy of crypto firm FTX could lead to a bevy of companies with ties to Hollywood out in the cold. Unsealed court filings released Thursday list the corporate creditors of the Sam Bankman-Fried founded crypto firm, and they include many blue chip companies in the technology and media sectors. Among the creditors are Comcast, the owner of NBCUniversal, Netflix, Fox Corp, Apple, CAA, and subsidiaries of Warner Brothers Discovery and Endeavor, among other firms. Endeavor is like a talent agency. The company's presence in the filing implies that FTX owes all of the money, though precisely how much and for what exactly remains unclear based on the filing. So you're aware, none of the companies would be on this list if they weren't owed money. And it could be $1, it could be $10 million, it could even be a bigger amount of money. This is a creditors list. Okay, creditors are people who are owed money, and this happens to be in a bankruptcy. See, this is the top page explaining it. Page number 1, verification of creditor matrix. Edgar Mosley, managing director of Alvarez and Marsal North America LLC, a law firm, court-approved financial advisors of the corporation named as debtors in these cases, hereby verify the attached list of creditors is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. That is what this is all about, okay? Just want to make it really clear because I know people have a lot of questions about this, not necessarily familiar with. Some of the companies are clearly owed cash for advertising or sponsorship deals, with Warner Brothers Discovery's Turner ad sales among the creditors. FTX had advertised on Turner Sports programming. Likewise, FTX ads had appeared on live sports broadcasts by Fox and NBCUniversal, which televised last year's Super Bowl. Both companies and some subsidiaries are listed as creditors. But it also includes companies that FTX may simply have been a customer of. Amazon Web Services is a creditor and could possibly have powered some of FTX's tech. So what that would mean is they do business with Amazon, and it's very normal in business, especially once you establish a little relationship with them, that you do the business and at the end of the month they send you a bill and then you pay the bill. But when you file bankruptcy, you do not pay the bill. And that's where that comes from. Likewise, news outlets like the New York Times, Puck, and The Information are listed as creditors, as is the Hollywood Reporter's sister publication, Billboard. While it's possible FTX had ad deals with them, it may also simply have been a subscriber. Likewise, Netflix. A source close to Puck told the Hollywood Reporter the company has not done any business with FTX. So they must be a subscriber. Talent agencies like CAA Sports, Endeavor, IMG, and Wasserman are also listed as creditors. A separate filing indicates that CAA represented Chiholy Olatani and other athletes or sports brands in securing sponsorship deals with FTX, implying that the agencies are still owed money from those sports sponsorship deals. As for tech giants like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Snap, Twitter, Apple, and TikTok, it's likely that the money is owed for some combination of advertising and services. The list of FTX creditors is entirely separate from the list of shareholders released by the court earlier this month, though there is some overlap between the two. What is a list of shareholders? A list of shareholders are a list of people who were equity investors. So they were part owners in FTX. It doesn't mean they were in on all the fraud or anything like that. It just means that they owned stock in FTX. And most of them are probably not liable for anything. They're not going to get in trouble for anything because all they did was lose money on this deal. Some of them could potentially be in trouble depending on what their relationship was with Sam Bankman-Fried. We'll have to see what that is. But creditors are companies that are owed money, could also be individuals that are owed money. Equity holders and investors are people that were owners and owned stock. The investors that put money into this bankrupt company are very unlikely to get 1 penny back from them. The bankruptcy judge is very likely to prioritize the customer accounts, where there was some $9 billion on deposits. The people who actually put money in as a customer account, like as if they're depositing money as a bank account type of thing, when they liquidate all the crypto and assets and cash of FTX, they're likely to get paid back before this list of creditors, which means this list of creditors is pretty much likely to get nothing. This is all unsecured, most likely. Secured debt is if when the company made a deal, usually this is like a finance thing, a loan from a bank or something like that. If FTX agreed that the debt would be secured, then the implication is that it's secured against assets, such if there was a liquidation, they would be paid first. I haven't heard anything about any of that kind of secured debt. This list of creditors is just anytime you're in business, you owe people money. That's just how it goes. And the bigger the business, the more you tend to owe. And that's normal. But what's not normal, of course, is the way FTX was being run as kind of a Ponzi scheme fraud. When they got caught, everyone they owe money to is basically out of luck. Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary is on both lists, as is Gisele Bundchen. Both were spokespeople for the firm. And Endeavor's IMG is on both lists, having invested in the company in 2021 and presumably having represented some clients in sponsorship deals. But the companies and people on both lists are facing an uphill battle if they're hoping to get back whatever money they're owed. FTX's current leadership, installed in conjunction with the bankruptcy filing, say their priority is securing funds to pay back depositors, customers who had deposited cash or crypto at FTX. This is also something that, you could be the new management says, hey, these are the people we really want to pay. When you file bankruptcy, the bankruptcy judge will look at your plan and will say what you're allowed to do. So if they said, oh no, we want to pay all the people who are companies that did business with us, and we're going to pay them with money that we have left over from people's customer accounts, that ain't going to fly with the bankruptcy judge anyway. The bankruptcy judge wants people who are the most harmless individuals that didn't know what was going on, that are the worst victims of the fraud, obviously, to get their money back. After that, whatever money is left over could be divided up among FTX's creditors, so the people on this creditor list, with secured creditors being paid back first, if they actually have any of those secured creditors I described. Comcast, Apple, and Twitter are specifically referenced as unsecured creditors. Shareholders are typically the last to be paid back in any bankruptcy if they get made whole at all. So shareholders, what they own is they own a piece of a bankrupt, fraudulent company. Do you think they're going to get any money back? No, they're not going to get any money back. It's not impossible that it could happen in another company, but in this company, it is impossible, because while a couple weeks ago it came out that supposedly that the new management found about $4 billion in assets or something, they have liabilities of at least $9 billion in customer accounts, something roughly like that. That doesn't even include all of this money that is owed still to all of these unfortunate vendors and people that did some kind of a business relationship with FTX. It's pretty bad. So these guys aren't going to get paid, unfortunately. But that does happen in business sometimes, and it's just part of a risk of doing business. If you're in your own business, be really careful about who you give credit to. That's just the name of the game. Sometimes you do have to give credit, but you got to check people out first, make sure it's a solid company that you're dealing with or someone who has a good reputation. Speaking of a good reputation, Hasbro is in some trouble. Hasbro is going to lay off 1,000 staffers, 15% of the workforce amid cost savings push. Hasbro's got a problem? Yes, they do. The toy giant is also looking to sell its production division, Entertainment One, as it pivots to focus on gaming. This is a huge upheaval for Hasbro. They bought Entertainment One quite recently, and that was going to turn them into really like an IP company that can sell their toys, but could also develop shows and get licensing and do all sorts of cool stuff. But unfortunately, they didn't manage it right because they're in big trouble. 15% of your workforce? Now, Google just did a massive layoff. It was more employees than this, but it wasn't 15% of their workforce. I mean, picture 1 in 6 people at your job gone. And who knows if they're even done with this. The toy and entertainment giant Hasbro says that it will cut its workforce by 15% or 1,000 employees in the coming weeks. If you think the economy is doing okay, the truth is it's really not doing okay. So you should really be careful with whatever your financial situation is. Now is not a time to be careless with your money. And don't believe it if you start hearing the economy is actually doing pretty good. It's not. There are massive, massive layoffs coming. And in addition to these layoffs, this started happening last year. I was telling friends about this. I'm like, I've never seen this before. Companies were rescinding job offers. So they had been making job offers to new candidates, big companies. And they weren't just doing layoffs. They didn't just have hiring freezes. They went and told people who they said, hey, look, we're looking to start you in 2 months and it's going to be great. They took those positions away from people. So it's political to talk about. People get upset about it. But the bottom line is, be careful. The economy is not what it seems. Just be careful. 1,000 people going down from Hasbro. The significant layoffs are part of a larger restructuring and cost savings effort underway, with the company having already put its TV and film division up for sale. Entertainment One. We're focused on implementing transformational changes aimed at substantially reducing costs and increasing our growth rates and profitability, Hasbro CEO Chris Cox said in a statement. While the full year 2022 and particularly the fourth quarter represented a challenging moment for Hasbro, we are confident in our Blueprint 2.0 strategy unveiled in October, which includes a focus on fewer, bigger brands, gaming, digital, and our rapidly growing direct-to-consumer and licensing business. I mean, these things sound nice. It's good strategically, but I mean, come on, you've had to lay off some massive amount of people. This is not good. I like the concept of what he's talking about, but if they couldn't execute before, why are they going to be able to execute now? I would be cautious about this company. I also wanted to just kind of point out to you, our friends at Warner Brothers Discovery, in the last 30 days, the stock is up 62%. The stock was down a lot, but the stock is coming back now and it's getting a lot of recommendations. And this is not a stock advice chat, but just talking about Warner Brothers Discovery in general, because we talk about it so much on this channel, keep in mind 3 really important things about the company. One, when the company was created, because it was a merger, but it was really a creation, like 80% of the stock, a huge percentage of the stock, was gifted to people who were AT&T shareholders. They never asked for it. They never wanted it. They never were interested in this kind of a media stock, but they wound up basically getting stuck with it. That was the nature of the merger. So there's been a lot of selling by people who got that stock. And until all of that stock is kind of sold through, there's always going to be more supply than there is demand for Warner Brothers Discovery stock. I like to bring that up because people ask about the stock price from time to time, especially in the comments. That's what's going on with that. But it's starting to get sold through now because April, come April in a couple months, it's going to be a year since those people got their stock and then had the opportunity to sell it. The other thing that's been going on is they completed most of the layoffs. Yes, they're canceling some shows here and there still, but they completed it and they completed it successfully. Look at a company like Disney. Disney is about to go through war with Nelson Peltz. Nelson Peltz is a hardcore activist investor. He's been around since the 1980s making trouble for companies. He's done it 30 times plus before with other public companies where he's gone after them. He's going to have some impact on Disney. But in addition to that, Disney hasn't done massive layoffs yet. All they did was that cutesy thing where Iger announced, hey, you're going to have to start working in the office 4 days a week so that people would quit on their own. Well, that might happen. That might not happen. But as you can see, all these major media companies are announcing layoffs. Disney's going to have to announce layoffs. They're going to have to go through massive restructuring. That's all kind of gone through the wash with Warner Brothers Discovery. They're done with that. Another big thing about Warner Brothers Discovery is they are going to relaunch their streaming service. That's going to happen in the spring. They were originally saying we're going to relaunch it in the summer, but they're going to relaunch it now in the spring. There's 2 big things about that. One big thing about it is they haven't really been aggressively marketing their existing streaming services because they know they're going to relaunch it. So there's just so much you're going to put into resources to promote something that's not what your main launch is going to be in just a couple of months. They're prepping for it. They're going to be ready for it. They're not going to miss their deadline. They're very effective managers at Warner Brothers Discovery. So when you see the new thing, and they may call it Max, or maybe they'll call it WB. I don't know what they're going to call it. Rumor was they're going to call it just Max. But it's going to be a big launch, and it's going to be something pretty successful, I think, because these guys seem to really know how to execute. And the last thing about Warner Brothers Discovery is, keep in mind, yes, they have a lot of debt, but they have been paying it down. And when that debt is paid off, the stock becomes really valuable. Just as we were talking about FTX, where they owe all of this money is owed. Well, the company crashed. So it's got all of this money it owes to creditors, including, businesses that they do business with, but also including, the 9 million plus customers. It's completely collapsed. But when a company like that collapses, their stock becomes worthless. You just talked about this. But if the company is able to pay off all that debt, which FTX will never do, of course, they can't do that. That's why they're in bankruptcy. But Warner Brothers Discovery can. And if Warner Brothers Discovery keeps paying down that $50 billion in debt, They already paid $6 billion down from it. They pay more of it. They pay more of it. They pay more of it. The value of the stock is going to continue to go up. So of all of these media stocks and whatnot, that's why Warner Brothers Discovery has been getting a lot of attention lately, and I should say a lot of positive attention. So I'm not saying to buy the stock. I just kind of want to review it because as much as the company has been getting beaten up over the last couple of months, you can look in the last 6 months, it's still down from the past 6 months. But for the past month, it has been up, and they're on a really good trajectory. They're going to announce earnings very soon. And after they announce earnings, you could take another look at where the company is at. As far as making investments, I don't like to advise people to make investments, but I like what this company is doing, especially compared to Disney. Even though their stock is up a little bit, Disney's massive question marks of what's going to happen with that company. All right, let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you think this proves that there's no connection between Disney and FTX? I'm not ready to say that yet, except to say I've never really seen the logic of how there could be a connection between Disney and FTX. If you have, tell me in the comments below. If you haven't, also tell me in the comments below. Was this helpful to let you guys know about what this list of creditors represents? I hope it was, so that you understood, like, why is Netflix on here but not Disney? What does this list actually mean? Did you know about the layoffs from Hasbro? I mean, that just came out today. It's pretty new. What do you think of Hasbro? Do they have a future? And what do you think about Warner Brothers Discovery? Do you think the company has a strong future? I think it does. And NBCUniversal, they're always looking to buy companies. They would absolutely love to buy Warner Brothers Discovery in a year and a half. I don't think there's a chance in the world they're going to sell Warner Brothers Discovery because look at this. They're paying off their debt. They're cash flow positive. They're bringing money in. If they pay that $50 billion in debt off, if they knock it down to like $25 billion, $10 billion in debt over the next couple of years, do you know what the value of this stock is going to be? So you don't get that if you sell the company in midstream to NBCUniversal. But let me know what you think of that too in the comments below. Do you think they'll eventually sell it to NBC? Really like to see what you guys have to say. All right. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.